All right, everyone, welcome back to Here's My Take. This is the second part to a three-part series. I don't even know what I'm calling it yet, but last video I introduced two concepts or 2 points that I'm going to reiterate, and I'm going to introduce two more points for our learning today. All right, so the first point from the last video, if I'm out of breath, is because I just got through running. Had to go grab something real quick, but all right. Calm down. You're there. You're here now. Okay. So point number one was this: if it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't sound right, if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't look right, then it probably is not right, and it doesn't make sense, right? And if that's the case, then you should probably look into it because you need to investigate. Now, there's a word for this. When something doesn't look right, sound right, if it doesn't feel right, it's called discernment, right? So you're discerning that something isn't right, and when you get that, you should probably look into it. The other one is honor those whom are deserving of honor, but never allow honor to become your blindfold or your muffle. And what that means is that you don't want to turn a blind eye to things that really should be common sense because you want to be honorable. Okay, it doesn't mean that you didn't step out of honor and be disrespectful, but it means to give yourself a fighting chance. You know, um, so don't blindfold yourself or muzzle yourself because of your attempt to be honorable. So here's the point number three, and point number one or two are going to blend in to the furtherance of the story, but I'm going to specifically focus on points three and four tonight. Point number three: everyone who is currently in your corner isn't really in your corner, and all it takes is a little conflict to weed them out. Everyone who's currently in your corner is not really in your corner, and what it's going to take, if you don't follow rule number one, right, using discernment, it's going to take some conflict to weed them out of your life. And then point number four, we love this idiom where there's smoke, there's fire, and we think that we sound so smart and so intelligent and so wise when we say it. But I'm going to add and it doesn't mean that you're wrong, right? I mean, it's like a rule of thumb where there's smoke, there's fire. But I'm going to add a endpoint to that, and that's only partially true, right? Because standing at a distance, we cannot assume or presume to know what's burning. Something is, but we can only guess as to what it really is. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. All right, so in my last video, I ended off with stating, we're telling you all about the story of meeting with our pastors and how that went. And I'm going to pick up on my first interaction with some of the people that I went to this particular church with. And I'm not going to go into great detail and say everything that happened, but just for continuity, for the sake of continuity, I am going to tell, you know, chronologically some of the things that happened. So remember, I said in the last video, I said that after the meeting I had with my pastors, I told my wife that we're just going to go back and serve the rest of our time out. We only have 3 months. I know we're supposed to be gone now this week, but I see what they're attempting to do to us. We can't let that happen. And this is my attempt in my immaturity to honor them. So let's go back. And so that was a Wednesday that we had that meeting. On Saturday is October. And in October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And typically what happens at this church is that they do some event around breast cancer awareness. So my first interaction with people from this church after 3 months is at this event. And I have to tell you this because it's going to make sense later. So we're walking up into the venue, okay? Um, I don't know if it's called the Relay for Life. I think that's what it is. But, you walk to raise awareness as it relates to breast cancer. I walk into this venue, and there's a registration table. The person sitting behind the registration table, I know, and they know me. And we know each other, not only because we have gone to the same church for years, but because we were in a leadership class together. We were the same cohort of people who went through the same leadership class, and we graduated together. So they know me, right? They have referred to me as Pastor Charles. Now, I don't have a problem with people not referring to me as Pastor Charles. My name is Charles. You look at my birth certificate, that's what's on there. Pastor's not on my birth certificate. But when you don't say pastor and you're doing it out of spite, that's something completely different. So I walk up to the table. I say, "Hi, how's everyone doing?" And the lady, she looks up at me and she looks a little confused. And I don't know what the confusion is about, but I'm about to find out. So she goes, hi, Charles, right? Not thinking anything of it. And there's a pastor who is sitting beside her. The pastor leans over and says it loud enough that I can hear it. The pastor goes, "It's still Pastor Charles." Right? I was like, that's weird. That's, that's a little weird. So okay. So in the computation happening in my mind was like, okay, so this person doesn't know that I'm still a pastor here at the church. And it's like, what if I was no longer at the church? Am I no longer a pastor now to you? Right? It's like, so if I'm not here, am I not Pastor Charles? Like, when I leave, I got to revoke. I have to turn back in my pastoral ordination, whatever. If you want it, you can have it. Right? But here is my other thought. This person was not in leadership. We went through a leadership class together, but they weren't ordained. They were not they didn't have any leadership responsibility in the church. So my thought was, why would they even think that I was no longer part of the church? Because remember, the only people that I had spoken to were leaders. Leaders. Remember, my heart was, let me get this stuff right for my kids. Let me talk to the right people in leadership so that we can get stuff in place so that I can transition out. But I have a person here in front of me who has no responsibility over anyone's soul, who is confused about how to respond to me or refer to me. That's weird. We get into the place where everyone is, and I'm picking up on everyone's spirit. Everyone is just weird. And I'm going to tell you how much I don't appreciate that. I didn't appreciate that back then. We were talking about almost 10 years ago. But I'm going to tell you how much I didn't appreciate that. And I don't understand this about people. If you feel like you've heard something about if you've heard something about someone, but you feel like you know them, do at least do them the courtesy of going to talk to them. Am I right or am I wrong about that? At least do them the courtesy of going to speak to them instead of being funny and acting funny. So here I am, I'm walking around the track. And there was like at least one person that I thought I could talk to, but even that person was acting a little funny, and I felt the funniness work coming off of them. Because I'm gonna tell you what I've learned about folk. This is unfortunately true. But the church, and this is not all churches, so disclaimer, disclaimer, this is not all churches. There's some great churches out there. But the church and politics are two sides of the same coin. It's all about optics. Rarely is it about truth and doing right in some places. So even if I like you, if I want the favors of those who don't like you, then I can't be seen liking you. I can't be seen as a friend to you because I want to be ordained too, because I want to have a position in the church too, because I want this for my family too. And then if that's the case, I can't be seen being cool with you. You're a pariah now. You're on the outskirts. Yeah, I remember what you did. I remember your dedication, but it's not about that. It's not about what you did. It's about who you are to us today. Wow. But that's the reality, right? I look up and I see these people standing in the corner and they're covering their mouth, but they're looking in my direction. You know, like middle school, high school maybe, but this is more like middle school behavior. They have their hands over their mouth and they're looking in my direction and they're talking. And you just know that they're saying something about you. And you're looking at them like, well, how do you know? You shouldn't know anything either. And then someone waves my wife over there to them. And they say to her, hey, if you hear anything, I didn't say nothing. If you hear anything, I didn't say anything. It wasn't me who did the talking. It's weird. Why would you have to tell someone that it wasn't you who said anything if you didn't say anything? Why did you have to give her that warning? Did they wave the both of us over there together? No, only her. Just her. So at this point, I'm gonna stop here and say, I don't think I have ever. I have been around people of different faiths, right? I have been around people who don't even claim Jesus like that. I don't think that I have been around a more toxic, vicious, mean, judgmental group of people ever in my life that call themselves Christians. And I'm not saying this to jump down Christians' throats and stuff like that. I'm just telling you about my experiences. I haven't seen it because everyone's in your corner until they're not. And all it takes is a little conflict for you to realize that people really didn't love you like that no ways. That's hard to say. That's tough to say. But it's one thing to fall out of relationship with people. It's another thing for them to turn against you. But I'm in good company, right? Good company. So we leave that place. And there's some other things that happen, but I'm not going to bore you all with those details. We leave that place. And this had to have been like a Saturday. So My first day back at the church was the next day. I go through my normal. I feel like I can't talk tonight. I go through my normal routine, and um, I remember speaking to someone, and they kind of looked at me like, you know, not talking to you. Whoa. Have you ever, I don't know if you've ever felt this, but have you ever felt like there was just like daggers just stabbing you? Like this happened and then that happened and then this happened and you're just getting poked just because hands are not being thrown and you're not being hit physically doesn't mean you're not being hit spiritually. Spiritual warfare is insidious because you can't prove it, but it's happening because spiritual warfare is based upon intention. Y'all know those people, you call them nice, nasty people, where the words that they're saying seem to be nice, but the intention behind what they're saying, you can feel it. And it's hitting you. That's spiritual warfare. And that's what I was going through. I was like, yo, I'm getting hit. Like, I'm feeling this. Something happens where I just broke. I broke down. I said, guys, it's my first day back at church, y'all. It's my first day. And I broke down. Here's the point. The Bible says this: to the pure, everything is pure. The lens that people look through, it's all predicated upon who they are. If people play games with other people's lives, then even if you have the purest intentions, they're going to think that what you're doing is the same thing because that's who they are. They can't see it any differently. That's why when you are an innocent, honest person, you have a tendency to trust other people until you learn better. And that's why when you are a liar and a thief, you think that everybody's a liar and a thief because you know you are, and you are a dishonest one. You don't let people know that you lie and you're thieving and all of that. So you don't trust no one because that's who you are. So here, my heart is to make sure that my kids have something in place when I leave, but everyone around me is playing this game with me because they think I'm playing a game with them because this is what they do. Something happens, I break. I break. I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna come back to that point. I go to the back of the church. I'm in a parking lot. I don't hit the ground with my knees, but I stoop down to the ground and I'm just sobbing. And I'm going, I don't know why they're treating me like this. I'm sobbing. I don't know why they're doing me like this because I didn't get it. And still at this point, I'm like, I still don't understand why. You can be upset with me, but this is more than you just being upset with me. This is you trying to destroy me. Like y'all are trying to ruin me. You're trying to break me. Be upset with me. That's fine. I get it. We're human beings, but this is something else. This is not that. You're trying to hurt me. So I get myself together. I go back inside. I do what I need to do. And some other things happen, but I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to bore you with those details. But I'm hurt because I don't get it. I don't understand. So I have to introduce someone else to this conversation here. Um, there's a person who was in my youth group, and he had just graduated high school that June. Remember, now we're in like October. He graduated in June, but he's still at the church, right? Um, and I know he wanted to go to school, so I had an opportunity at my job where he could get some money, like a stipend, to put it towards school. So we started working together, right? Started working in the same place. Um, this had to have been like maybe late October, early November. But one Bible study night, one Wednesday night, I pulled him to the side because I had developed a really good relationship with him. Um, because he was focused, he was interested in ministry, and one of the things I said to myself when I became a pastor was that I was going to do for these kids that what no one else had done for me, and especially for those who are interested in ministry, because I always wanted to have a mentor. I never had one. I had people around me that I learned from, but they were not in the capacity of being a mentor. So I was going to be a mentor, and I was a mentor to him. Pull him to the side one Wednesday night, and I say to him, hey, listen, I haven't broken this to anyone else yet because we're still trying to figure it out, okay? Some things out. But the Lord has called me out of the church, and I just wanted you to know because of the relationship that I have with you. But if you can keep this to yourself, right? But I just wanted you to know. He didn't look surprised, right? Yeah, I didn't think anything of it. A few days go by, and we're at this school, and we're leaving the school, and we stop in the parking lot. Um, and I don't remember how this is 10 years ago. I don't know how the conversation came up, but he eventually said to me, he was like, "Well, I already knew that you were leaving." And I said, I was like, how did you know? Like, how did you, who told you? And he says that this person, who's very close to the family, to the first family, right? This person came up to him at this event, and they said to him in a very direct way, they accosted him and said, how would you like to be the youth pastor of this church? And the young man said to me that his reply was, but Pastor Charles is the youth pastor. And this is before I told him, right? And the person goes, he ain't coming back, right? Just very flippantly. This is how he's relating it to me. And then this person proceeds to talk very disparagingly about my wife in front of him. Now, I'm sure that he did not tell me everything that this person said, and I'm happy that he did not. But that got me thinking. I went home and I said to my wife, I said, we got to go. We got to get up out of here. We are so uncovered at this place. They're showing us that they don't care about us. And all they're going to do is continue to beat us up. Now, remember my spiritual father who gave me that horrible advice that I did not follow in the first video? Um, is one thing he did say. Whoop, 1 second. I'll just leave it down there. There's one thing that he did say that I did follow. And he said, whatever you do, he said, whatever you do, and now it's starting to make sense to me, right? He says, whatever you do, don't get a send off from them. A send off is when you stand in front of the church and you look at all of the people who you've served and all of these relationships that you've built, and you say to them how much you appreciate them and respect them and how much you're going to miss them because it's what you do when you have a relationship with people. And it's just a good practice to transition that way. He said, don't do that. And I'm happy I didn't, because there's no telling what they would have done to embarrass us in front of everyone. So I wrote a letter. The first letter, the first letter that I wrote, yeah, that letter wasn't very kind. Well, let me not say kind. Let me say it wasn't very professional. That letter had so much of my hurt in it. I let someone read it, a pastor from the church. The same pastor who leaned over to the person was like, "It's still Pastor Charles." I let that person read it. And they said, "Please tell me you didn't send this to him already." And I was like, "No, I didn't send it." And, it wasn't no cuss words in it, nothing like that. It was just like, it was just the raw what happened. Like, yo. So I wrote a second letter. The second letter was much more gracious, much more professional. Turned that letter in, submitted my keys, got myself out of the office, and I was out. And if I thought that the warfare that I experienced at the church when I was there was bad, it was really bad when I left. So now we have the young man introduced into the story. I got to introduce you to one more person. There's another person, and I'm already running out of time. See, I'm telling you, it might be 4 or 5 videos. This other person is someone that I consider to be a close friend of mine. Um, and I didn't even get to my second point in this video, but whatever. This other person is someone I consider to be a close friend of mine, and whenever I would tell him exactly what was going on within the church, what was going on with me, it was always dismissive. He was always dismissive about it, right? It was something that I was doing, something that I was doing wrong. I was taking it wrong. He wanted to give me a different perspective, but I could feel from him that he was also upset with me, but use he was going to hide behind what they were doing to also hit me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to hit you directly. I'm going to use what they're doing to hit you too. So now I'm getting beat up by my friend. So when I realized that when I talk to this person, I'm talking to a leader of the church, I'm not talking to my friend. I realized I can't talk to this person no more about what's going on in the church. He didn't stop being my friend. I just stopped talking to him about what was happening within the church. Now I'm gone. And I'm going to tell you all a story about what happened on December 4th of that year. And tie some other things into this video as well. The next one. Because I really want to get into the where there's smoke, there's fire. Because there are some people who believe that because something looks a certain way, then it gotta be that. People will tell you that perception is reality. And it's like, it very well is not, sir, ma'am. Your perception is your reality. But there is a reality. And there is a way to see things. So don't believe that perception is reality. It's how you see it. That's your reality. But there is a way to actually see things, and that's the reality. I guess I'll pick up with that in this next video. Brother, this is gonna be long. All right, y'all have a good one.